This is your weekend market recap for Saturday, October 8th, 2022. Let's go.
Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well.
This is Dan Max, GDXJ Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your weekend market recap for October 8th, 2022. Hopefully you are surviving, trying to thrive, and at worst, just getting through the storm. The markets are in a choppy predicament. We've talked about this the last couple weeks. I expected chop, hitting lows, bouncing, hitting lows again, potentially bouncing, question mark. We'll see what happens going into next week. You have a little bit of economic data that'll be important. Obviously, CPI on Thursday, retail sales on Friday. The early part of the week is basically a vacuum. Be aware of that. Earnings start next week. And guess who comes out to end the week with CPI as well? The banks. You got Citigroup, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, US Bank Corp, and Wells Fargo all on Friday. Starting the following week, we will get into it deeper. The banks' earnings are a big wild card because obviously Credit Suisse, UBS, and some of the other European banks are catching a ton of flack. Their credit default swaps are starting to rise, CDS, and people are starting to get worried. Now, keep in mind, banks lead the market typically because what? They're the ones creating the liquidity. If they're writing loans and doing banking activities, that means the economy is usually what? Growing. When it's not, it's the opposite. And the problem is now banks leverage to the housing, which I don't necessarily think as much as important as more as the consumer. I think consumer credit is the biggest issue here. Anyway, we'll talk about that when we get to some of the bank stuff, but that's just being on the horizon for that. I wanted to also let people know I had the Discord room locked up, did a pretty big purge because I want people who want to be involved. I'm not saying you have to sit here and get, post all day in the Discord room. But I'd like people who really want to learn, because that's the thing. Like, those are the people that I want to help. And the people who are looking for the easy answer, people who are just copying and pasting and reposting our stuff and trying to claim it's theirs, I just don't really have time for that, And one of the things that you realize in anything, whether it was trading or anything you're teaching, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Like, that's the thing. Like, it really is fulfilling for me to help people that want to help, not the people who just go, hey, Dan, what is the market doing? Hey, why is this? Hey, friends in Discord room, tell me, is the market going higher or lower? Like, that kind of stuff means the onus is you're putting on someone else to have all the power when it comes to your decision making. The goal is to be literally a room full of people who know what the heck is going on, that can share with each other insights that help them, so that, say, I'm not around the computer, you're not around the computer, but you can check in the Discord room and you can see what's going on and be like, okay, I have my positions, this is what's going on, this is what they're seeing. I can trust that for face value. Now, again, obviously people can be wrong, but at least they're giving you the best insight that you would trust as if it was your own. That's the kind of stuff we're looking for. So, on that note, if you need help and want to get into the room because you have that desire, burning desire, cool. I'll share the link. Lupus is helping me get that started again. On that note, let's get into the markets. Bitcoin, I say this daily. Again, if you have questions and you're watching live and it pertains to the stock that we're in, please don't hesitate to interrupt with a comment if it relates to a particular stock. If not, we'll talk about it at the end. Bitcoin, it looks stuck. I've said this for, I guess it's now months. So this action can get choppy and sloppy. Technically be bearish, needs to make lower lows. Technically be bullish, needs to make higher highs. It's just, it looks like a downward looking, whatever you want to call it, triangle pennant, chop action. The key is taking out the lows. This is what you're going to see the key being in all things, right? Taking out the lows. Because people don't realize, if you've been trading long enough, you've been through choppy, sloppy mess times. And the hardest thing with chop is what? To anticipate the big move. Right? It might happen, might not. Oil. Hello. Hello, Moto. We talked about this. No one believed it. 76. I told y'all this is a major resistance support area. We hit it. Nobody thought oil was a good short up here. And here it goes. Right back to the resistance zone. Now, let me do a little rant on oil here because I think oil is the key to the market tanking. And people are like, what does that mean? The Feds are obviously in this raising interest rates environment where they want to slow inflation and they have stable employment. I'm pretty sure, and I mean, leave comments in the chat if you guys agree with this, that the Feds are on this suicide mission to kill oil and commodities and inflation. They are going to fail badly. But what I'd like to see for them to confirm maybe even more bearishness in time is oil to lead higher, right? Because if things are already baked in, because this is the hardest thing about the economy and the market. The economy is not the market. The market's not the economy. We all agree with that. But one of the things that you see with the economy is that, or the market is, if it feels oil is holding up, maybe the economy is not that bad. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, I feel like the recession we're in is very mild, which hence why a 25% pullback in the market makes sense. The key to the market getting absolutely slaughtered, though, is worsening conditions. And we've started to see the birthing pains of that. We've talked about that, right? Credit Suisse, Europe's trash, Ukraine, Russia issue, creating more bottlenecks, supply issues. Oil's the key. Oil is the key for the next leg down. That's why it's leading up to why I like the oil and gas names. But here's the thing, right? We have to start watching these levels. Now, ExxonMobil, I think, had the best week they've ever had or something, up 20%. Maybe probably not the best week. It was smaller. Best week I can remember. See what happens when it gets into this level. Because what would really get the Feds to blow their mind and really be stuck and have to go even heavier? Imagine this stuff. Imagine oil gets back into the 100s plus. We not all agree if oil got back into the 100 plus. The Feds ending their rate hikes at 4% or whatever, 4.5% next year. Not gonna happen. They're gonna be stuck. So that's kind of one of the things I think we need to watch for, is it leads up, but also that it'll what? Will put the Feds in the pickle. It'll put them in the bind that where they're, I mean, again, they're trying to drive the car with their eyes looking backwards. You know, like they should have done this years ago, but the problem is just like OPEC made fun of us over the weekend or yesterday. We don't have any we've been tearing down our refineries. We have plenty of oil supply. We don't have the ability to refine it. That's the real reason why oil prices will hold, or at least gasoline prices will hold up. Yeah, James, Bitcoin is pretty much, it seems like trash. I agree. It's gone nowhere. But gold's done that before too. So when it wakes up, you'll know. And if it wakes down, then it's game over for crypto, Bitcoin. The dollar, as we expected, little highs. I'm going to do deeper. I'm going to go deeper and check out some monthlies here. You got this long wick. You got this hammer here forming potentially. I don't know if near term. Now, again, because everyone's yelling pivot, zero pivot if oil goes higher. I think we can agree with that. Because oil is the key, right? It's the input for everything. It's the biggest input for most businesses in a sense of commodity input, right? Fluctuation in that creates margin pressure. It's tough to know if the dollar's going higher near term because I know China's talking about dumping all of their dollars. But as we've said, when debt gets destroyed and people get scared, they're not buying the euro, they're not buying yuan, they're not buying the peso, loonie, whatever. The yen, not happening. No. So at this point, one of the things that the dollar's done pretty consistently every time it comes off of a low, it either like chops sideways, retests, as you say, and it pops, it can make like a lower low, or it could do this. It could be this game, where then it goes sideways. The sideways action to me would bring on more bullishness near term in the market. But the dollar really is another key, right? Because people don't talk about this, but when the Feds are raising rates, right, they're pulling liquidity out, or not pulling, they're raising the interbank lending rate to try to slow down liquidity. But the dollar is like another rate hike, essentially, right? Like it putting pressure on the dollar changes everything within the market dynamics too, right? Because everyone, all the, emerging markets, yen, whatever, they all love when the dollar's weakening. European, you know what I mean? Like people can buy American goods. America is obviously the supplier of the world in certain things, just like China can be. But anyway, long story short, there's always been a sense of stability when the dollar is what? Somewhat strong to weak, but not going straight line monthly move. And that's the basic point of this. I would say, like, watch the 20-day. I somehow think we'll still get back down to the low 29s. Everything in my loins tells me that at some point something's going to push. There's going to be bad economic data that will push the dollar down. As we talked about, it would only get worse as the year goes on. But maybe it doesn't. This is what's so hard here, is this in-between point, right? Like, the market's going to take new lows out. You expect probably the dollar to go higher. TLT. This one has been, and then this is where you talk about, like, here, leaving trades alone. Look at the monthly. I mean, it makes sense why we should hold this area, right? In 2008, talked about you had a monster spike in the TLT because commodity prices peaked. The market started getting smoked. People bought bonds to be defensive. I feel like we're at that point where it should be a good buy. We talked about it. It just didn't work. Now, if you go look at the daily, you can see really specifically where we thought it would hold. I thought it would hold around this like trend line here, around 103. You can see on, hold on, zoom out. Man, it's been so long. I can't even see it on the monthly, or on the daily. But point being is this was a pretty straight line move, taking out the lows, and thought this might be like the capitulation, right? Y'all are familiar. People who know, like we talk about, when you break a level, you go below it to set the bear trap. I got stopped out, then it popped back, and everyone's getting excited, and it's like, all right, well, now what? It didn't. I didn't get back into it, and here you go. You're basically at the lows. This little doji on a Friday, I would claim you need more information. The VIX. Yes, I will be covering all semis, all my semi names. This is what's interesting about the VIX, right? Because people are like, oh, the VIX has to go higher for the market to break down. If it's the big move is coming. Notice my levels. Look at this, 31 plus crash underway. Well, it hasn't been a crash, right? Like, this is why these, we've extrapolated what the VIX levels are that are important in the ranges. Now, again, if it gets to 32 and it doesn't crash, don't be surprised too. Like we've been into this mode of congestion. Well, what is the thing that, what have I talked about with the VIX back in 2008, right? Like, you had like this pop and choppy higher high action, right? Well, at some point it is going to break out if everything is going to get destroyed. I always feel like the best trap, though, is to what? Pop, drop, then go. Now you look at the daily. We've popped again. I feel like a decent little drop, because if I'm going back to the monthly, it went from 17 up to 31, then back to 20. Here, let me show you back on. This is the repeating pattern I'm anticipating, but I could be dead wrong here. And people are like, oh, why are you still slightly bullish and trying to anticipate upside? Because I'm like, this is what the VIX did. It went from 17 up to 30 and change, and it came right back to 20, then kapow up. That's what I thought might happen again here, because you got this huge gap down here at the 20 level. I don't know. And again, people are like, well, what's going to cause that? I don't know. You don't know until it happens. So it's really hard to expect the market to melt down if the VIX does not get back up into the 30s. Keep in mind, right, what 31 is clearly an important level, right? We're at the make or break. Well, again, if the market's about to dive off the diving board and go lower, then the VIX needs to go higher, in my opinion. But it could also go lower, slower, if the VIX consolidates up here in the high 20s, low 30s. It wouldn't be like a crash, but it would just be a downtrend, like a downward trajectory market. Let's talk about the SPY. Here you go. back down at the range lows. Professional gap potentially. This wick, you guys confirm with me too. I don't remember ever seeing 373 highs on the Friday market close, Friday SPY. Does anyone remember 373s? I don't. But everyone's candles have that painted. Weird. Even e-signal. So at this point, you're back down towards the lows. Whew. You know, we were the ones saying they're going to say it's just a pullback. Then they're going to say it's just a correction. Well, now what? Double bottom, head and shoulders. Yeah, thank you. It didn't happen. We'll see what happens. I mean, there's going to be a lot of FUD. I mean, this whole... and again, I don't know if the headline that's really pushing the market lower is nuclear risk in Russia. I don't know if y'all saw that Biden is telling people to warn folks that nuclear war is coming. If that was the headline that caused the acceleration down into the Friday, as I've said this over and over and over and over and over and over again, Russia is not nuking Ukraine. Why would you nuke something you're about to take over? If they're the grain belt on the eastern side of Ukraine with all the commodities, I mean, it doesn't really make sense to send a nuke and do that. So to me, that's FUD. Complete dog poo. It's really good headline fodder. It gets people very excited about buying Newsweek and buying newspaper article, buying news. I'm shorting the news. So we'll see what happens. There's no nuclear, war that happens over the weekend. Then do we recover? This is really tough, y'all. I mean, this is inflection points. And so this is what I want to draw out scenarios here. If we hold, we probably bounce back. Very clear, right? Yeah, some people saying floating island. Yeah, I mean, that's typically how it's been, right? Repeating pattern. Floating island. So, but here's the thing, right? Let's paint out all the scenarios. If that was the headline that was creating the down at the end of the day, we probably rally back. I've said I expect chop. I think the VIX somehow gets to 20. I don't know what level that'll be. I said 380s, maybe the 100-day. Say that doesn't happen. If you want to short the breakdown of the market, technically, go right ahead. I don't blame you for wanting to do that. And I personally will do that. I mean, again, short the crap. Remember, laggards lag. Don't probably short. I mean, oil and gas probably does fall a little bit. Maybe you can start dipping into the drip. But you need oil to drop, obviously. And this is the thing. So you need to see everything get weak. Remember we talk about real destruction comes with what? Everything dropping. Not just tech. Like I want to see everything get beaten over the head within the market. If you want to short, this is where it gets hard. The ideal position is to sell calls, in my position, sell at the money calls to buy and fund your puts. Because the IVs are going to be high. And so if your puts get some IV destruction, at least your calls will help do what? Cover that initial cost. Just be careful that what is the downside? On the SPY, because this is the thing, I want to zoom out to the monthly. Is the near term, you have this old trend line. You guys can see it hopefully pretty clearly. This comes from way the Wayback Machine, right? Coming forward. It's not that far off, 350. A lot of people have been calling for 350, right? Well, if you break 360 and downside's 350 near term, I mean, this is one of those markets where it's not like, you're getting these in between monthly candles, like big red, big green, right? Big red doji. I don't know, big red chop. We're in this like weird cycle where that might be the only downside near term. So you got to be quick. And I've said this, and I still have my Tesla short on and Tesla Q. Certain things are just junk, and again, it's what everybody loves. To me, semiconductors going much lower. Remember we talked about they become a commodity. Big tech, overowned. It's going to become the ATM to buy commodities in the next bull market. So if you want to trade anything and feel more comfortable, I think those are the names that you can really just short and just I wouldn't say just not manage it, but expect the bigger downside. We talked about commodities, to me, don't have as nearly as much downside as tech. I mean, because they've been showing relative strength. We'll see it when you get into it. But if you are one of these people who is like, oh, I'm tech forever. No, markets rotate, y'all. The markets change. QQQ is sitting on the point of control and the 50-month. We've talked about it. Once it broke the 20-month, it really confirmed that this was the blow off top. 50-month in orange. It's kind of crazy. Like, can't even. Yeah, Apple going to be the next IBM? Of course, they're always. You can see what happened here. First touch of the 50-month, you did get a bounce in 2007, 2008. Now, again, comparing the two, just looking for reoccurring tendencies. If the first touch of the 50-month is important, we'll see. It might not be. I mean, we haven't hit it. It's been major support along the way. Do y'all see that? Is it clear? This, to me, is how they would get the market to believe, oh, look at the midterm election cycle. If you have to buy the market on a midterm election cycle dynamics, that to me would create the best trap to go short. Because again, I've said this, and I say it a lot to friends and family and people in Discord. The best markets are the markets that are out of position. Like this whole move up, we knew was junk. Went long it and then shorted it. Didn't get as much as we should have. Sadly, I didn't think it would come right down. I honestly was hoping for a big M pattern, because that would have really just gotten everybody going, well, maybe it is going higher and the bears give up. Now that you're back at the lows, what's the best setup to get people out of position? It would be a bounce. I think it's just, again, I mean, sentiment is way too bearish, but it doesn't mean it can't go lower. I mean, that's, again, I'm just talking about hypotheticals, what I would like to see from repeating patterns. Because that's the thing. If the downside is only small from the SPY, say 350, how low will the QQQ go? I don't know. If you lived through the 2003-2007 period, you remember what? Cooler CPI, could be that, Kerwin. I remember days where I'd watch the market and the SPY and the Dow would be up, IWM would be up, and the Q would be down. And it was like that every couple days. And we were like, oh, they would talk about whining about tech because tech had their names from the past, which were like Cisco, even, I mean, I guess IBM, Intel, all these older names. Some of the names that are gone completely. Nortel, Lucent. Yeah, anyway, Palm Pilot. That kind of stuff, to me, is what, like, that potentially market could start happening even more. And that's what we're seeing. So, we'll talk about it. The IWM, it just filled the gap. Does that really look that bearish? Can we all not agree? Like, the IWM leads. If the IWM leads, does that look really bearish? Doesn't mean the SPY couldn't go down to 350 real quick. But if someone who's a firm believer in the small caps leading, because they've always led, like here, check out the monthly. Like, this is how we knew like a bear market was coming. Look what was going on. It got really stagnant, basically 2021. And then had the blow off top in November. Remember, the SPY topped in December. Blow off it, and it led it. It was like, meh. So now what with the IWM, right? Like, can we honestly say, like, this looks like completely bearish? Can I not agree? Like, it just looks like a gap fill. Yeah, I mean, it should hold 165. I agree. I mean, max downside, but this doesn't look that bearish. And now look at the volume, too. It's not like spiraling, blowout, expanding volume, right? We'll see. Maybe we just haven't gotten enough price action. Things that don't look bearish. We'll see. Gold. We talked about this nice little pro gap and bounce. Got up to the 50-day. Said just leave it alone. This action is interesting. I mean, all you did was fill the gap and you held the 8-day. And I know a lot of people, again, the 8 days, the traders, like, you know, on the downtrend, it held it. Let's see what happens here. Because this is the thing. I'm going to be taking notes because I'm always reviewing this stuff. Put in there, if the gold GLD breaks the 8-day, that helps confirm the bearishness, right? Again, SPY, know your levels. I'm just writing some things. 360. Again, QQQ at the 50-month. TLT retesting. Does it hold? Question mark. Like, these are the things, again, right in this journal. Like, because this is the stuff when this poop hits the fan and things are moving fast. These are the like things that I'm referencing as like, all right, well, did anything really change? Or is it just volatility? And I'm trying to overthink it. It happens to everybody. Is the long-term bottom in gold? I've said this many, many times. No one believed me in April. I'm like, that's a look above and failure, coming back down to the box. Well, here you are. 50 months holding. I personally would love to see 148, 149. What's the upside on gold? Probably not too much, but maybe the 100-day, I'll show you in a second. Kerwin, that's a good question. Holding as it should. You know, you come down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, you get a bounce. Right? Yep. There's resistance up here at 161. You can see it on the monthly. It's also on the daily. Let me just zoom into it. You can, I'm just going to, for poops and giggles, you can see it right there. I don't think you're breaking over that. That's, to me, the upside. But maybe it gets up to the 100-day if you zoom in. Yeah, 161s, I agree. Maybe. That just seems like way too much of a stretch at this point. So, I like gold long-term. It's just, again, the trade for me was over. People were like, oh, you nailed GDXJ. Why did you sell it? And like, I just don't think there's much juice up. I just don't think there's much juice. It hit the upside. Again, you can see on the monthly what I was referencing. You can see here on the 50-day. Just, I don't know. That sometimes is time to go. Again, we like it, but this is the thing. Remember, when the market capitulates, baby out with the bathwater. Going to say that a lot with commodities. Silver, where my boy Jay Solstice talked about it. Silver leading up and then leading, like giving the conditions for it to flop back. Let's talk about head and shoulders. This is why you're also buying GDXJ. What's up, brother? Nice bounce. Big gap. That gap probably will get filled. I mean, here's your little island. This is the mini island floating reversal. Ideally, holding over the 100-day near term to me would be bullish. What's the upside? Probably not much. So that's where, again, not that interested. We've said this, and I'll say it for folks who are watching. The best time to buy silver is when the Feds pivot. Every time. Here you go. Feds pivot in 2008, 2009. Fling! Feds pivot with COVID. Zing! Yeah. Not interested. Was looking at 922 for weekly possible. Okay. We'll look into that. Unfortunately, hold on. I don't have the weekly screen available. I could change it to weekly. I'll look that up for you because I think that's probably, you said 9/22, 2008. Let's go back in the way time machine. Zing. Appreciate the interaction here because if you guys see something, I can't see everything all the time. Come on, load. Loading. Oh, I broke the SLV. Oh, because I went back to 1963. I don't think it was trading then. Give me a second. I think I broke the SLV doing that. It's like, uh-oh. All right, 2007. Weekly, what'd you say? 9/22, 2008. Yeah, pullback. Again, I just don't know if the Feds have pivot here. I'm looking the wrong year, you dummy. Repeating pattern. Are you talking about on silver, Jay? I'm in the wrong year. Talking about this action. The bounce. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, the bounce and then flop. I get it. Yeah, I mean, that's what you should expect. I mean, we've talked about that too, right? And the down move with gold and silver, it wasn't just going to be a straight line. Like, you're going to get these bounces. No, I agree. That seems about right. Let's look at that now, because that's then. Now, let's go to... Yeah, up to the 200. It's just choppy and sloppy. I mean, I think you're right. Your thinking is correct. I don't trust it. I mean, I love silver. I want more. The 50, yeah. I mean, it feels like that pop before the big drop. And this is the thing I've said, 16, 13, somewhere in that range. And again, if you are long-term bullish, love gold, silver, let them absolutely destroy this stuff. I'm telling you, you want everybody out. I want to see every social media pundit who loves gold and silver, even Robert Sasaki or whatever, to shut the hell up. That's the puke I want. Drink your milkshake. Drink it. Drink it all up. Daniel Day-Lewis from There Will Be Blood. Love that movie. GDX, same thing. We've shown this a billion times. The best time to buy this is going to be, oops, excuse my language, YouTube. It's going to be when this thing gets smoked. Have we gotten smoked yet? I feel like we're in the cooker, but the smoke level to me seems like 16. We'll see. I mean, you don't know. I mean, the Feds can't really pivot with the jobs number. I mean, the jobs number, even though, I mean, I think they were saying people taking 2 jobs. Now people act like that's the new economy. Yikes. Rates low. I mean, again, people dropping out of the, I don't know, it's just such a, I hate having this conversation. Like, people are like, oh, look at the rate. And it's like, the rate isn't what you see. It's not all that. Look at the participation rate. Look at some of the other underlying factors, the job force, participation, like all that stuff. It's just, it's a joke. GDX hit my upside. I mean, I wasn't trading it, but we'll go GDXJ because same thing. Here you go. Hits the upside range. I'm out. Love it. Long term. Pull back. I mean, again, you can see on the monthly why I was interested in it. Not surprising it bounced at the support level. I would love, though. I mean, look at this wick here. I mean, it went from 27 down to 19. We're closer to the lows in the GDXJ, no doubt. But how much lower could it go? It just, to me, it's one of the things. Once that pop was over, I mean, do you want to short it? Go right ahead. I mean, you probably could on a bounce. Some people talked about it, and I bless it with the understanding that it makes sense to me. We have not seen the wipeout. So, we'll see. Just let it come down. Let it do its thing. The problem, I think, about getting too excited about miners too early is what? If you like Bitcoin action, you'll love miners action doing similarly. Like, it could be just a sloppy, choppy range until the final. On that note, let's roll right along. Try to speed this up. AG said 8 or 9 when it went to pop. 907, not bad. Now it pulls back. Ugh. Probably going back to the 6s. Just leave it alone. This one, AEM. Put this on your scratch pad. Put this on your brain. You have volume, lower bounce, 100-day. Again, if there's going to be a, I mean, they bought Kirkland Lake. If there's going to be a larger miner that's worth owning, I think it's AEM. On the monthly, I would look at this 32, 33 level. If anyone sees that and I'm not posting it, just remind me. Set an alarm, Siri. Don't do it. Newmont, leave this thing alone. I've told y'all. Newmont is a dog, man. It is such a dog. People don't remember this in 2008. I do. And I was like, oh, everybody loves Newmont. And they went, goodbye. They're like, oh, it's holding this trend line. Hey, look, it's holding this trend line. Bye-bye. I don't like them because they're going to have to spend a ton of money to buy up mines. I just don't. Again, I like the juniors. It makes sense. Anything smaller that has gold in the ground, silver in the ground. Pass. Leave it alone. Let's get into commodities because this is the thing I want to talk about. We said the rotation. The rotation into commodities. If you haven't watched my video on who wins the tech war, I posted this in November 2021. Pretty good timing. It's commodities. Now the thing about commodities, if you go zoom out, right? And this is why I love commodities, because once the momentum comes out of tech, commodities will be moonshots. Why? They're usually lower liquidity stocks, lower market caps, all that tech money. Think of all the trillions of dollars that all it needs to, like, small percentages need to come into commodity companies to get them to go ballistic. So hence my point is just survive. Get through this next couple months. Year, maybe it's a year, I don't know. But again, like, this is tech. This is what tech has to look forward to, y'all. If you don't know this pattern, this is the blow off top time and price correction. Tech will be doing this. If you don't remember this, go study the 2000s. Tech did nothing. Took Microsoft 17 years or whatever to get back to even. Well, here you go. Here we go. Birthing patterns. Again, X is just one example of these names. We talked about you could buy it here at 18. I still think it could get up to 22 if the market holds. Nowhere near. No, I'm sorry, that's probably not true. I mean, you have a stronger base. This is what's so hard about, like, trying to predict this versus, like, tech. It's like this stuff has a much stronger base. When it breaks it will be ugly, but I think you're going to hold stronger because unless the VIX spikes, people are looking at commodity names, right? Nucor, same thing. The bounce. Much cleaner, I mean, choppy action, building a base. Probably to go much higher. Where would I buy it if it pulls back? I mean, you see my alarms in red. I love the 90 level. Gets there, gets there. I'm going to run through a few of these. Cliff. Everyone likes Cliff, talks about it. Held our major support zone. I need to update the drawing on this. You pray it pulls back when it does break. I mean, all this stuff. You can see some of these levels somewhere in the 12s. Long term, I mean, I love looking at the monthlies on these things. They get me so excited. I'm so excited. Just can't hide it. This is what's going to happen. You're going to get rich if you know how to play commodities. Oops, wrong screen. Anyway, you see this is the thing. Look at it. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, Cliff head and shoulders, knees and toes. What do you mean? On the monthly? Whatever. We'll move on. I'm not really too concerned about it. VALE, we talked about the dollar going lower. Emerging markets get a little bought. Not really that excited about Friday's action. Look at that. Ooh, spaghetti-o. And did VALE have any news? Because that feels news related. And if it is news related and it held up, we'll see what happens. Like this stock much lower. Fill the gap, maybe 10 or 11. Again, downsides. These have priced in a lot of bad stuff. I mean, what's VALE trading at? A 2 PE? I can't remember. Arrow. Kappa. What up, Kappa? Nah, she didn't know I could do that, huh? 200-day, probably going to reject. But things that aren't bearish. Y'all see how commodities don't look as terrible as tech? This is the first birthing pain of confirmation of our bull market. All we now need now is the Fed pivot capitulation. Because man, it's like the daily market recap will become the commodity market recap at some point. That's what it was in the 2000s, y'all. I'm telling you. It'll be industrials, commodity, housing, tangible assets market recap. It will not be tech. If you own tech for the long term, I feel bad for you because it's not going to perform. Inputs go higher. Tech is deflationary. They just eat doo-doo. I like this name, Arrow. Put it on the watch list. Pull back. I mean, here's my alarm. The things that don't look bearish, right? CCJ. We like uranium. Again, I think it still becomes a teenager. Smoking age, driving age, maybe. Holding up pretty well. This stuff needs to absolutely turn into the wipeout mode if the market's going down. Not really there yet. CF. Hello. Talked about it. Bouncing from here. Bought that day. Ride it up. Hit our target zone. High and tight is bullish, y'all. I mean, this is the thing about, I'm telling you with commodities, if the market is actually going to hold and play this chop game, commodities are going to go up, tech is going to go nowhere, and the market's going to be boring to some people. If it holds here in the 50-day, I don't know why it couldn't go and fill this gap right back to the highs at 113. Doesn't look that bearish. Mosaic, down a whopping 25 cents on Friday. Things that don't look bearish to me. Again, like I want to see the market. If it's going to turn into the violent whip blowout mode, commodity stocks will not be safe. If they are holding up, something ain't going. Something ain't going down. And I'm talking about the overall market could leak lower, but money is rotating. Always keep this in mind. Money is not destroyed. It rotates. All of this money that's in tech that is trillions of dollars is looking for a home. And you don't realize that they're investing. They're sneakily buying real estate and commodities. But they're not going to market that. NTR, again, holding up. Doesn't look too bearish. Any questions about any of these commodity names? Again, I'm going to be building that list. I need to go through every single one that Mike and family have. And I was going to go through all their balance sheets and look at which ones I thought had the best charts, the best balance sheets, and then rate them A, B, or C. A being the best, B being, should do okay, C would be the laggards. Certain countries are also loading up on physical gold. Yeah, of course, Scott. Shh, don't tell anybody that. You know, that's what they're thinking. Let's get into tech. Now, I know this is a long video, but whatever. You're here, I'm here. Let's hang out. AMD, guides down. Man, we are at some major support here. Major support here at the 59.60 level. Who remembers us talking about this being a most epic short? Probably not a ton of people because the channel, again, I wasn't super public at that time, but we talked about, hitting the trend line, head and shoulders top, good night. Now here you are in the 60s. People didn't believe it. Well, again, believe when it, because people are like, AMD's a good buy here. I'm like, maybe for a bounce, but it ain't, it could go lower. It could go much lower, y'all. It should bounce here. And remember, someone, I think, Kerwin, was it you or somebody else talking about how Micron guided down and they've been bouncing up? Here it is. Micron doesn't look as bad, right? Usually I don't talk about Micron, but I watch it. It's holding the 20-day. So NVIDIA, again, dogs. Dogs got fleas. It's not taking out the lows. We'll see what happens here. Remember when they guide down, it really takes the gas out of the potential further to drop near term if it takes a big poo-poo. So at this point, what's such a childish word, poo-poo? Talking to your babies and your kids. We'll see what happens. Again, you can play the tech bounce. I will not. I don't want to buy the laggards. I want to buy stuff that looks cleaner, holding up. Because I'm telling you right now, that's what the market looks for strength. You and I don't know who really is the strongest companies and what is really going on in these individual companies. The only thing we can rely on is what? Money showing its way, right? Like they can't hide that, right? They can't hide that. If the chart looks good, somebody knows something. And it ain't you and I. SMH, back testing the trend line. Decent volume. We'll see. All this stuff needs to take out lows to confirm it, right? If you are believing in any tech bounce, you need to see the semis hold. Apple. All right, let's talk about earnings names that hold up. Adobe, right? It's not taking out the lows. We'll see what happens here. Remember, we talked about if you wanted, you could have sold puts. That was a pretty solid play because IV spiked. When you go from 360 to 324, and then we talked about in the under 300. You sold the 275 puts. Ka-ching. Apple. This doesn't look terribly bearish, y'all. Look at this volume. I honestly was looking at it and going, scratching my head, gone. No, I thought we'd be down more. Did anyone else think that Apple should be down more Friday? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Doesn't look terribly bearish. Now, I know they're pumping the crap out of it. Does everyone else get a text every day from Verizon? You have paid off 50% of your phone. You are eligible for an upgrade to an iPhone 14. Every day. Every day I get that text. They're going to be selling some iPhone 14s. We'll see what happens. Again, this is a long-term trend line. I personally know that when the market is ready to open in part C's to smash, Apple needs to be taking out the lows. It needs to take out 130 with aggression. Like, this is the market ATM. Everyone thinks this is where the solid dividend and this awesome buyback are. No, it's crap, man. It's going to be, like you said, IBM. It's going to be the waste of buyback that will be spent on the upper bounds of this stock price action is rather sad. Just saying it as it is. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. To confirm the market going lower, I need to see Apple taking out the lows. Now, could it like follow and chase it back? Maybe. Amazon. I think they have another Prime Day. Prime Day is going to be like every other month at this point. Doesn't look that bad, y'all. Like, this is tech that doesn't look trashy. It's like Apple. It's kind of in between areas, right? It has plenty of room to drop, but then plenty of room to bounce, right? Yeah, exactly, Kerwin. Plenty of room. Either way. Don't know. CRM, we like this one, and then it played games with our heart. Software, ugh. I mean, Microsoft very similarly. Laggards, leave them alone. Like, zoom out. Do you really want to buy this or stuff that's like looking more bullish? I don't. Guggenheim, the Googs. This is so hard down here. I mean, you can play it. It's just, I just don't feel like it's going to have the pop. It's just not going to have the pop. I think you can get to 105. Meta, I mean, who said once it broke 155, leave it alone? This thing is just trash, man. This is the Apple, future of Apple looking stock. Meta probably goes much lower. Maybe goes back to IPO price around the 20s. Mr. Softy, again, this is where here. Let me run this example of years of going nowhere. Let me zoom in, open it up because it went on a parabolic rise. This is what you got. The peak in the 1999, nothing. Then it goes on this parabolic rise. It's dead. It's dead. But I mean, it's not going to get there in a straight line. We know that. It's due to bounce. I mean, honestly thought it would bounce better when it got here. It didn't, made a new low. Then it bounced up like freaking market, you son of a biscuit. Knew it would do that. But again, back at the lows, we'll see. We'll see. I don't really trust this action other than to be choppy. You see it right here? This is what I think we're in tune for. Maybe not as prolonged, but same kind of thing. Just NDAQ. Man, every day someone can rub it in my face. This was the short. Drew it. Oh, said wait, Dan. Need to see. I mean, again, I can't short the lows. This is the Coinbase exchange for the NASDAQ. It's gonna, when NASDAQ loses all of its momentum, the NDAQ is going to lose all its momentum. I have no doubt in my mind that this thing will trade in the 10 to 20 range at some point. No doubt. Are they going to start adding commodity companies to the NASDAQ? Okay. MicroStrategy. Somebody was short it. Congrats. But this doesn't look that bearish to me, right? Like, this is what's so hard with the market. I would think this thing would be like, maybe this is day one and it's about to start. But if it holds the 20-day, things that might not be bearish. Netflix, man, they got beat. Broke down below the recent moving averages. Let me just try to clean it up. Doesn't look that bearish though, right? Like, it looks like it's in this chop zone. I think that, and then this is me projecting myself as Mr. Market Maker, who, you know, there it is. Yep, there's the big volume right there. You got to really break the two hundos. The best way to trap people, again, it's time. Sometimes it's just time. But one little bounce, one little fake breakout. Remember we talked about like First Solar, like, it's going, and it's like, bam. That to me is the best, like, at Netflix short. Like, that repeating pattern of chop, 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 breakout, fake out, down leads to lower lows. Roblox, down $4. Again, I haven't really dug too deep into the charts. I want to do it with you guys, how I see it. Damn, it's already 55 minutes. It doesn't look that bad. I mean, I'd like to see it break 34. But maybe 34 is like the SPY 360. Like, it's game over. Tesla, I mean, this is one of the things, like, the only reason why I've kept my Tesla Q in the long-dated puts I have on this thing is because it's Tesla. Everybody loves it. Like, I thought Apple had insanity love. I've always said this. Like, the candle that ruined it all for the bulls. They all came in. This candle confirmed to me, game over. Game over. Bulls forever. They will never sell. Perfect. Well, guess what? I know when they'll sell. And it's going to be in somewhere probably between 45 and 70. We're not there yet. Are we? No. This looks bad, right? Like this doesn't look great. But again, you got to take out the 207s. I mean, Elon, whether you like him or not, I personally, I don't mind people who have opinions that actually challenge status quos, right? Pro gap? No, usually pro gaps are at off the top, Kerwin. Like that, you know what I mean? Like pro gap off the low. Like these are more just continuation gaps or maybe novice gaps. You don't know, right? I personally think it doesn't make sense for this stock to just continue to go down a straight line. I mean, 300. I mean, it's lost 100 points. It's lost 30% of its stock value, right? Probably due to bounce. This is what we'll have to keep an eye on. Now that you've seen and rolled through tech, it doesn't really look that good, right? Let's roll into XBI real quick. I'm trying to move faster, but oil's, I'm sorry. I didn't even watch this and be like, you're just rambling. No, I'm trying to dig deeper. It's the weekend. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't look that bearish to me. No. Right? I don't know. It doesn't look that bad. I mean, it's just holding this area. We'll see what happens. The volume not, like, epically opening up the dam. Maybe you need another candle. Financials. Remember, they have earnings next week. At the lows, this is here. This is one of the things about stocks going into earnings. If they're at the lows, they might pop. This is what might lead the market higher, I think, for like a week or so, even into OPEX. If the financials come out, what happens? And they, of course, sugarcoat and sweeten everything to make it sound rosy and yummy. Maybe they bounce. Need to see the financials break the 30s. Morgan Stanley. I mean, right at the recent lows does not look that bearish. JP Morgan, now this is the dog, right? They don't have a buyback anymore. I mean, it looks like it needs a hold of 105s. I mean, it's hard to be incredibly bearish without the financials just opening up the dam or breaking the dam. This thing looks like crap. We all agree on that. Whatever. Let's get into the new favorite, solar. It's tan. Getting burned. But a small amount of calls on the 200-day. Yesterday's move, ouchie. I got a few weeks out on them. I am not optimistic. Again, I mean, you have to remember, when you buy options, you will get total losses every once in a while. I don't have a ton. We'll see what happens here. I think this has gone a little too far, too fast, considering oil's holding up. I could be wrong. Could be wrong. We'll see what happens here. It doesn't look terrible. Terrible. It doesn't look great either. Is this a novice gap? This is the question you have to ask. Like, I'm going to put this in there and we'll revisit it, right? Because if oil and gas hold up, solar inherently will, right? Because people are like, oh, have you got to buy alternative energy? No, right? No. We'll see what happens. ENPH, people have been trading it, and someone talked about it having this fill the gap kind of moment going into earnings. Is this near-term capitulation? Because again, if this thing's bearish, it needs to take out new lows. Now these candles are showing indecision, which could be the point of turning, right? Like, I'm trying to find a. I mean, you had no, not really there. We'll see if this is a repeating pattern. Again, I don't know the stock as well, so we are learning together. No, not really seeing much. Me just looking at technicals. When you have a big down move and then you have this action, it doesn't tell you for sure if it's going. Right? You don't know. Sedge, we've talked about this one. This is being the dog. Making lower lows. Well, put this on your radar. I think we all see what's going on here. You're near the range lows. Does it bounce? I don't know. I mean, this thing went from 320 to 209. Not necessarily, because it is a piece of junk. We'll see. First solar. Hey, we've been trading this one pretty solidly. I still think the big down is coming, but we need oil to come down. I love that formation. To me, it's because it's the same thing on the lows. Flip this thing upside down, and this was the bottom, and you take out the low, and you come right back. I think the hardest thing right now with First Solar and everybody who, again, I don't like how the solar short has now become popular. It's like, damn it. It's like we talked about this 2 weeks ago, and now everybody's shorting it. I don't think it's going to do what it's going to. I think it, personally, I think it's, I mean, every time it, now, from now on, every time it gets 137 to 140, please short it. You have my blessing. Just be careful. Because I think it could play this game where it holds up. Because if the market does hold up, oil holds up, gas holds up, it might not open the dam. Is that all right? Does that make sense? I mean, I closed out all my I've been trading this more aggressively than I think y'all know. Shorted up here, closed them out. Bopped, closed them out. Someone said, I closed at 132, I think. Someone was like, oh, it's going lower. Hey, congrats, you were right. Market absolutely opened the floodgates. But look at Friday's action, right? With the market imploding, does First Solar look that bearish? Can anyone honestly say to me that it looks terribly bearish? High volume doji in the point of control? You don't know. It's one of those things like more information required. Like you would need to break below that to confirm it. You can't say with like certainty like this really looks like it's going lower at the moment, unless the whole bear trap or bull trap just opens up. Let's end it with the oil and gas. I apologize for a long video, but this is the weekend. It's the weekend. This is the time to do this stuff. Oil, we talked about, obviously, 90s. Could it go 100? This doesn't... It looks like the 100-day, right? For the USO. Again, I really hate charting this thing too hard. Because, again, it's a crappy ETF. It's like UNG. You got to be careful. It just doesn't, at this point... The wick on Friday need more information, you know. You prefer to see it like that to look bearish, right? Like, but could it play this little game? Maybe. But or is it in this like here? Is this the candle right here? Right? Like this looks very similar coming off a low. This candle on 525, 1226. Could it be just a start of an again, I told you, for the market to get beaten down, we need to see oil continue to go higher. I'm telling you. We really need to see oil continue higher to put the feds in this pickle where they're just like totally stuck. That's what we want to see if you want the market to implode. UNG, it was looking so promising. Hits up, pulls back, chop. Can't really call it bearish or bullish at this point. Need to break the 200-day. This repeating pattern, I personally think natural gas. I mean, somebody said Monday was the squeeze days for nat gas. Remember, it's the fall. It's starting to get cold. People are going to start rethinking about nat gas. We'll see what happens. Because if oil's rising, this is going to follow at some point. This is going to be in the same kind of dynamics. Right? Gets very obvious to me that this is an easy trade if it holds. 26s seem very logical. Because you could make the case so many ways. This is a head and shoulders bottom. You could say this is a his and hers double top. Here's a head and shoulders top. Getting pretty volatile. Just let the levels talk at this point. Too bad it could not clear over the 24s. Coming right back. Wah, 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 wah. XOP. Things that aren't bearish, right? Yeah, Scott, I think dip and then pop. Talked about mid 140s. Thought this would be like, we'd get here and fail, but it's like, nope, stuff continues higher. Remember, the market does what? It does not reward, there's nothing safe. Well, does this look really that bearish? If the market's, you know what I mean? Like, is the market taking everything down? Oh, it feels kind of like this kind of crap. I'm not saying we go back to 170s. I don't know that for sure. I just don't want to be early buying drip. Because people are running to oil and gas for safety. Hopefully, and that's the thing. Leadership leads. If the market does not open the dam for lower lows, they're going to buy this stuff. I mean, let's just run through a few of these names, right? ExxonMobil. Somebody was shorting it down here. It's like, I don't know about that. And then it rips face. Hopefully they got stopped out and they're okay. I've said this now, and I'm putting me on record. It, to me, feels like we're going to new highs on ExxonMobil if the market holds up, because this is what people are piling into. Like, think of it just like a tech name. Like, you know, certain times of the tech bull market, everyone just piles in. Oh, it has one red candle. Well, Jesus, it went from 87 to 103. Monday, gap. I mean, profit taking. That's all you can really say about that, right? We'll see what happens. Occidental. Every time Buffett buying. Doesn't look that bearish. He probably sold his calls and Jesus, stop it. Sold his calls, and then what? I don't know. Could you draw it that way? I mean, there's a lot of ways to draw it. I don't know. Doesn't look bearish, though. PXD doesn't look that bearish to me. I mean, I know it looks like a double bottom, and honestly, it just looks choppy. We'll see what happens. It gets to 260s, then we'll roll it and stop the recording on EQT, a gas name, holding the 100-day. Talked about it getting added to the mid-cap ETFs, big volume, pulling back, held here. Is this chop to go up to the next range? Maybe go back at the highs? I don't know. It doesn't look that terrible to me, but the levels matter. It's sad to see it could not break above it, but market flushed it. These are the names that I would be looking for just to trade up. Now, again, ExxonMobil probably doesn't have a ton of upside. I don't know. I could be wrong. I mean, all this tech money needs a home. All that Tesla, Apple, whatever, SMH, Google money. I mean, maybe it flushes into ExxonMobil one last time. Keep in mind, look at what happened during 2008. I'm going to show you all on the monthly. I mean, it peaked as oil was peaking, right? This is interesting that it's moving to new highs at this point in juncture. Tough to know. Tough to know. I mean, wide and loose. I mean, it makes sense that it's probably going back at the highs, but then after that, again, the market is not going to be going lower and ExxonMobil going to new highs. Does that make sense? Be aware. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. Let's chat. I hope you have a great weekend. Please just, I'll say it over. Your risk management has to be more important than your trading capacity because, again, you're going to be wrong. It's how and what you do when you're wrong that matters. All right. Talk to y'all later. Stick around. We'll chat for a couple minutes.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.